what causes mutations? So I know that you said that, most of them are like passed down from mom and dad, like inherited type mutations. But I guess my question is, what caused the mutations in the first place, like back in the day, like generations ago? Where did this genetic mutation kind of phenomenon start happening, or why?
Well, I think about evolution. It's like we didn't suddenly just – a fish didn't turn into a dinosaur. A chimp didn't just turn into us. It's millions of years of evolution of certain gene mutations being passed on more often than others. So you start to genetically drift apart. But I mentioned before de novo mutations. So like UV radiation, like I think that sun exposure is very people, but sunburn is bad. I think you should be getting unprotected sun exposure dosed accordingly. 10, 15 minutes a day, unprotected, no sunscreen. I think that makes sense. But the burning itself causes DNA damage. And that damage normally, like we're having cancer cells be formed every single day in our bodies. Our cells will mess up just by how many cells are in our body, how often they're replicating probability wise. Every day you're having a cancer cell be formed. However, your body has DNA repair enzymes. So they come in, they chop out the messed up thing, and then they replace it with the right thing. Or if it's too far gone, they'll basically tell that cell, hey, you better go commit suicide right now. They'll make that cell kill itself, and then they'll get rid of it and then replace it with a new one. So the mutations are always being formed in our bodies all the time. The question is, do they stay on? And that's where a lot of these classical cancer mutations come into play, on how well your body can repair those enzymes. A lot of micronutrients come into play with that. The genes come into play with that. I think they wanted to try and see, why do elephants never get cancer? They have a lot more cells than we do. They figured out they have a mutation in the enzyme that repairs DNA, and it works better than it should. So they repair DNA better than humans do. If you think about it, if an elephant, let's say, is 100 times the cells, they should have roughly 100 times the cancer, roughly speaking. Where did the initial mutation cause all? Then we're going back to like, what was the initial life form, even before we were mammals, before we were like animals, whatever the I think they say like the lightning bolt struck into the sea and created some bacteria or whatever. So it's like, that's that'd be entirely other talk that I'm honestly not an evolutionary biology expert, but they start from happening from an environmental stressor like sunlight or nowadays toxins. This is why mutations in heavy metal detoxification genes, they're directly linked to, guess what? Alzheimer's, cancer, all these things, because they contribute to DNA damage. The heavy metals will contribute to DNA damage. These DNA repair enzymes need proper minerals to function properly. So if you're deficient in that mineral, or if you have a heavy metal that mimics that but doesn't do the right job, that can incrementally do these things. So it's never just one answer. It's always a flavor or spectrum of these things for everybody. Does that kind of answer your question?